Hey guys, before we begin, a couple of announcements. First, if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can also check us out on your favorite podcast app and consider giving us a review. Apparently, Apple Podcast reviews are a big deal. So if you haven't done that already, I'd really appreciate it if you could support the podcast. Speaking of supporting the podcast, we do have a couple of sponsors. The first one is MPG Sport. If you head to their website, mpgsport.ca, you can buy a bunch of sustainably made clothing that I wear, and it's great. And if you want 20% off, you can use my discount code ThomasW20. That's THOMAS 20 for 20% off your order. Speaking of sponsors, we also have True Local. True Local is great tasting, locally sourced. There's a theme here. Meat delivered to your door. Use the code BREAKERFIT, BREAKERFIT, for bonus chicken with your first order, and then more chicken as you continue to order. So check both of those things out, True Local or MPG Sport, for clothing and food. So, episode 8 of the Breaker Brief, I'm going to leave it in there. Breaker Brief features local celebrity Terence Man. Terence has really improved his CrossFitness over the last couple of years, and he's ascended up the ranks of the Breaker leaderboard. His progress has even been featured on the Morning Chalk Up. I grilled Terence on a variety of topics, ranging from nutrition to managing injury. This is a great episode to dive into for long-time CrossFit athletes looking for some real-world advice on progressing past plateaus. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you enjoy it. Awesome. Okay, so here we are, episode 8 of the Breaker Brief, because we had a two-parter. I'm assuming it's episode 8. If it's not, it's not a big deal. Terence says it's episode 8. We believe him. Speaking of Terence is my guest today. He is a longtime athlete. He's been at this facility longer than me, much like Becky was. So that's exciting. But in that time, he's had some sort of transformation. He looks very jacked right now. So we'll get into that. This episode is going to be about Terence's journey into and through CrossFit. I'm excited to interview him, even though we chat pretty regularly. Terence, tell us one thing about yourself before we get going.
CrossFit-wise or?
Anything, Terence. Put you on the spot more than I put anyone on the spot before.
Okay, I've been at this gym since 2013.
Great. That was going to be my first question. You stole it. That's okay.
Excellent.
To be fair, guys, I put Terence on the spot more than I put anyone on the spot to start our interview, because I'm more confident doing it, but he's never done before. But episode 8, I'm a veteran. Okay, so Terence hinted at it. He's been doing CrossFit since. This was your first CrossFit gym?
No, I actually started at a gym before that.
Wait, that's the first time I ever swore on the podcast. That's the first swear word.
You can beep it out though.
I'm not going to.
Oh.
We're
you can put like a fart noise.
Yeah, we're nowhere near being monetized on YouTube, which is where it matters. We need like
1,000 subscribers.
Yeah, and we have 72 subscribers. Oh, like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, anyway, sorry to cut you. Yeah, right there.
Right there.
Sorry to cut you off, Terence. Okay, so what gym did you start at?
So I don't know if they're still around, but it was a gym called CrossFit for Time.
They're not around anymore.
So you know about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started off with them just because my sister and my mom started there and they loved it and kind of sucked me into it. But it wasn't long after that I realized like the programming didn't really make sense. We weren't doing any competition. So I was looking for something different. We had a bunch of members. I don't know if you remember Shane. Yeah. So he and a bunch of other friends moved over to this gym and they said, come by and try it out. So a year and a half later, I was here.
Okay, great. So what got you into CrossFit? Was it your parents? So was it just your mom and your sister, or was there anything else?
Literally my mom and my sister.
Literally your mom and your sister. So they dragged you into it?
Yeah, there was another point where I was, I had been at the gym for a long time and I was doing my own thing and I was pretty confident in my own ability to train.
Yeah.
But my mom, my sister would be at CrossFit and they would come home and they would talk about it all the time. They would be like, I had such a great time. I did this, this, and this. And, I got to a point where I felt a little FOMO. So I was like, I want to join too now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did they harp on you to join, or did you just kind of they were talking about it and you just kind of wanted to join?
No, they just had their chats every day about CrossFit. And I'm like, okay, I kind of want to be a part of this.
Guys, this is my pro tip for the day. It's one of them maybe. But what Terence described is exactly how I tell people to get their friends and or significant other into the gym or into the CrossFit gym. Don't tell them to do it. Just talk about how great it is, and then they'll get FOMO. It's the easiest way. If you constantly harp on someone to do it, they're not going to do it. But if you just talk about how great it is and make them jealous that they're not there, way more likely to join. So that's what worked for you.
Well, so it worked for me, but like it hasn't worked for me in terms of getting my friends to come, right? Like I've been trying for so many years, but they're like, I hear the stuff you do and I'm tired already. I hear the stuff you do and it's crazy. And I mean, I get it.
Are your friends going to watch this?
I don't know.
Sounds like you need new friends, Terence.
I've got good friends here already.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. I was trying not to say and I just did. I'm going to do it again. So you were working out beforehand. So that's great. What were you kind of doing beforehand?
So a lot of like the traditional stuff that you would go to the YMCA for, right?
Like curls?
Yeah. Curls, bench press, military press, squats, right? Like it was like 20 minutes of cardio, then do some weight training, hang out on your phone, socialize a little bit, leave after 2 hours. But,
awesome.
Yeah.
And I know that you were heavy at one point.
I was heavy at multiple points in my life.
That's kind of like a consistent thing. So you got fit before you started CrossFit, or fit-ish. You went to the gym before you started doing CrossFit.
Yes.
So what was the thing that initially triggered you to start going to the gym?
So I got to a really heavy point in, I would say 2009. I think that was when I hit my heaviest.
How heavy was that?
225.
That's not very heavy.
Well, it's heavy for my frame.
I guess so.
Right?
What do you weigh right now?
170.
From 225 to 170. And how tall are you?
5'9" and a half.
Great. So we just need that for potentially the title of the podcast, 225 to 175.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. And so you're at your heaviest and you were like down on your luck, downtrodden.
You know what? At that point, I wasn't upset with myself. I wasn't, lacking confidence. None of that. Like my friend, one of my best friends literally just said to me, "Hey, maybe you should come back to the gym." And I'm like, okay. So the next day I just like, here's my membership fee. And there I was at the YMCA.
That story is not like any other.
I know.
Like most people are like, one person is like, "Hey, you're looking a little big.
Yeah.
You should deal with that." And you're like, "Okay, you're right." You're kind of suggestive maybe. Like, just like, what if the guy was like, "Hey, let's go on a rob bank." You're looking a little, okay.
Lean in the wallet.
Yeah, lean in the wallet. Let's go rob a bank. No, that's crazy. Okay, well, that worked out good.
Yeah.
And how long? So that was in 2009?
Yeah, it was in 2009. It took me about a year of, just like dedication to going to the gym every day. I was like 5 days a week.
Yeah.
An hour and a half a day. Started to clean up my eating a bit, but not in a sustainable way.
Yeah, no one starts sustainably.
Right?
Yeah, that's
right?
it.
And so, I lost a bunch of weight then. I think I lost 60 pounds at that in that year.
So from 225 to whatever
165.
Down to 165. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But you didn't keep it off.
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I went back to school for some stuff, and I was in this mental space where I wanted to focus on school and just school. So I was at Starbucks 5 hours a day, studying after class, and living off of Americanos and double chocolate chunk cookies.
Yeah, if there's nothing in the Americano, you don't have that chocolate chunk cookie, you'd be fine.
So after that, after that schooling period, I ballooned back up to, I think it was like 205.
So yo-yoing, I believe the technical term is yo-yoing.
Yeah.
You're yo-yo dieting.
Lots of it.
Awesome. Okay, so we got kind of like the prelude, prequel, not prequel, because it's not a sequel, but the prelude to it. So in 2013, you joined this gym. How long you had been doing CrossFit before you joined this gym?
About a year.
So 2012. So 2009. So 3 years on your own, and like kind of. But then once you joined the gym, you were still kind of up and down with the dieting and the weight.
It was more stabilized, I think, about 5 years ago when I started dating Clara.
Oh, you started dating Clara?
You pack on that happiness weight, right?
Oh, so it got heavier.
So that was my last time I went back up.
She stayed with you.
Yeah.
Despite that.
Lucky me.
Lucky you. Now Terence is married.
Yeah.
That's good. I think it's also interesting. I mean, as an aside, I think a lot of people go to the gym to get confidence, but then they don't actually get the confidence from the gym. They just need to be confident.
Yeah.
You were confident beforehand.
Oh yeah. I was not lacking confidence before or after like the weight loss, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a topic for another podcast. I'm not going to dive into how to be confident. I have no idea. I'm not as confident as Terence is. That's great. So, and then I don't want to skip ahead too much because I know the answers to most of these questions. Just leading questions. I think that's what, if we were in court, that's what they'd be called. And I'd be like, they'd be say, you can't do that or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So yo-yo dieting, but what was it like your first kind of like year in CrossFit like? Because you had a fitness, like you were going to the gym. Like what was your first workout? Do you remember? First CrossFit workout?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. But I remember going into that class and like smashing it.
Like you did good?
Yeah, I did. Like I did.
Oh, wow.
I did really, really good. Like, I mean, like, so despite, you know, the yo-yoing of the weight and getting heavy, like, you know, I was still playing basketball.
Yeah.
And I still had hockey. So like, I mean, I got that athletic background.
Yeah.
Right?
So Terence walks into a CrossFit gym and smashes. Again, maybe not the story for everyone to gain from, but hey, he's confident. It worked out for him. That's not really the focus of this episode. I should have said is more about like getting more competitive with CrossFit, which we'll get into. But you don't remember the workout. No. But you were still hooked. Like a lot of people get smashed and they're hooked. You smashed it, and I guess maybe that dominance and confidence made you hooked, which is good. Okay, so and then you joined here, and this gym was different at the time. I don't think we need to get into that too much, but did you meet Clara at the gym, or did you brought her to the gym?
I brought her to the gym.
Okay, Clara is Terence's wife. So yeah.
Hard time.
And she's also a very dominant CrossFitter, just somewhat more reluctantly.
Yeah, she wouldn't see it that way.
No, she wouldn't see it that way, but she's gotten pretty good.
Yeah.
Her path is more of a normal path, like a little bit slower of a, like, cause she's getting the skills, just not as quickly.
Yeah.
But like hers is a much more
indicative of
of a general experience.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so, and then does your sister and mom still do CrossFit?
My mom being now, I think she's 60.
Your
65. 65.
Yeah.
You know, her being 65 now, she's kind of dialed it back a little. I think she was doing CrossFit up until maybe, I would say 5-7 years ago. Now she's doing a little bit more low impact stuff, but remains active.
Yeah.
Like really, really active. My sister transitioned to just doing like weightlifting, like Olympic lifting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you're the best CrossFitter out of all of them, I assume.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Terence, you're confident. You have to say yes.
But not at the expense of my family.
Oh, I see. But I mean, if it's a fact, it's a fact. And so now I wouldn't say the fittest at the gym, but you're close to it. You have some weaknesses. But were you like, so you smashed that first workout, were you like always the fittest at the gym, or was it some work?
Yeah, like, you know, I wasn't at the top, but you know, I'd like to say I was in the top half.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, like for you know, when I started there, when I came here, and I was okay with that. Like I didn't need to be top dog, right?
But now you like it.
It comes with pressure.
It comes with pressure? Oh. Really?
Yeah. Yes.
What's that pressure?
Well, so at the risk of sounding a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Self-involved?
Self-involved, yeah.
Right? But you know, like I know people, like they wake up and they look at the leaderboard. Yeah,
they look at your scores around the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
But they looked at because you're consistently posting your score. People looked at your score and you were like always in like the top 10, not the top 5. Mm-hmm. And if anything, your improvement is a negative for the gym because now your scores aren't necessarily attainable. So before, people would look at your scores and be like, yeah, I can beat that. And then a bunch of people would beat your scores throughout the day. Yeah. Now people look at your scores and they can't beat it. And I feel like it's probably a negative for people's fitness. And I don't mean like I think in general, like 2 years ago, your scores were more like beatable and people would come in and purposely beat your scores. Now they can't. Genty can, but he doesn't regularly. We'll have Genty on eventually. His story is interesting. He's out in the back there. Come in. But like, yeah, Genty and I can beat your scores in some workouts, but Genty and I are not as driven to do so as you are, I think is the word.
Okay. Yeah.
Genty especially. It's probably the best non-former competitive CrossFitter at the gym, but is also the most likely to dial a workout back.
Yeah.
Which is good.
A lot of natural talent.
Yeah, a lot of natural talent. Okay, so maybe we'll tell you from 225 to top of the leaderboard. That's the title of the episode.
Ooh, I like
that. I like that too. I have to remember that. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack in there from 2013 coming in, smashing your first workout, but to going to top of the leaderboard, which is where you currently reside, unless Phil shows up to do a workout, and then you're no longer. Or Brad. Yeah, Phil or Brad can beat you if they try really hard. But I think there'll come a day where that's not always the case. Maybe not with Phil, but you can beat Brad on workouts.
I feel like I beat Brad on workouts if he's 1 injured or 2 he doesn't try.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was gonna see his podcast because he hasn't been on the he's a kid. He hasn't been on the leaderboard in a while.
Yeah.
He's gonna see this somehow. He's gonna see that, and he's gonna be on the leaderboard for 2 days or 2 weeks straight, knowing him. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about kind of that journey in the middle, because that's where I want to get into the meat of the podcast. So I guess the number one thing I think that's helped you is just consistency. Like you consistently work out. You're the most consistent. You're easily, I think, our most consistent member in terms of the time they work out, the effort they put in, and all of that. So let's talk about, like, is that just part of your personality, or is it something you've had to work towards?
I think it's part of my personality. Like I like routine. I like structure. You can ask Claire, like when we miss gym in the morning, it's like my whole day is kind of thrown off whack. Like mentally I'm not there. Mentally I'm frustrated. So I need structure, and I need, routine in my life. So, coming in at 6:30 every morning is routine. Right?
So I guess that's the thing. But I think that even if it's like harder for someone else to start, the consistency is really important. That's why I'm a big fan of the 5:30 a.m., 6:30 a.m. time slots, because of that. I've had to go at 6:30 or 5:30 a.m. now, which is
hard.
A little,
especially where you're traveling from.
Yeah, like if I lived where most of the members live, traveling to 5:30 would be optimal, because I'd be waking up at 5:10. I'm not even joking. I tell people, like, if you live 10 minutes away, there's no traffic, wake up at 5:10, get here at 5:30. Yeah. By the you'll eat after you work out. It's the best. But I have to wake up at like 4:50, which is a little early. And waking up at 4 or 5 is not waking up at 5 is I think waking up at 5 a.m. is a natural time to wake up, or can be made natural. Waking up before 5 a.m. is insane. Yeah, 4 is anything earlier than 5 is Brandon wakes up at like 4 something to coach the 5:30. I wake up at 4:50 to coach the 5:30. I live in Newmark. He's like, no, I gotta wake up, eat, do all this. I'm like, that's crazy. I just roll it. But I have the drive to wake up too. Awesome. So working out in the morning has made you more consistent, or has helped with the consistency probably, because especially because you're like a younger professional. So I feel like if you were like an evening workout person, a lot of the time you would get stuck in the office. Maybe not now, but beforehand you get stuck in the office. Yeah.
I think even when I started at the YMCA back all those years, it was always workout before work. Yeah. Right. So I kind of established that before coming here.
Awesome. But the thing you haven't been, so we'll talk about this now. The thing you haven't been consistent on is your diet. That's something that I know you've had to work on. And the last year, and I guess now 14, 15 months, you've done the most work on it. Yeah. So I don't want to lead the witness, but would that be the biggest change you've made? Because you've improved in the time I've been here with you. Yeah. The last year and a little bit has been the biggest improvement in your fitness. Yeah. And the only thing that really changed, besides being not what was your diet. I mean, there's reasons for that. They're based on the pandemic, but ultimately your diet changed. So let's talk about that.
So I think it's twofold. Diet is going to be a huge part of it, but I also feel that with the pandemic and, having an excuse to finally buy gym equipment for the home allowed me to kind of set something up at home. I could do the class workouts. I am now doing the Rock Breaker programming.
We didn't start with that until January. Yeah. So I think the biggest improvement I saw in you was August to December. That's when your numbers went up the most.
I would say so too.
Yeah. So I think the extra stuff is you earn the right to do the extra stuff by being better and getting more consistent. But I think that the gym equipment at home is good, but you were consistent enough before coming in, it wasn't an issue. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the dietary changes. If you agree that was probably the biggest.
No, I certainly do. I think having gym equipment at home helped. But it's definitely not, the biggest contributor to the success. Like, obviously, I took Becky's programming with habitual nutrition, and we started that. What was it? January of 2020, I think, was the first run of that program.
That makes sense.
And it was opportunistic because Claire and I had just come back from our honeymoon, and we wanted to both do something to kind of reset our diets and kind of get back on track, kind of thing. And it's helped tremendously, kind of building back the foundation of what good nutrition looks like, right? I think Becky's program is, and if she's watching this,
she's obviously gonna watch it.
Yeah, I don't want to offend her by saying this, but it is a compliment. It's not groundbreaking. It's not earth-shattering.
She wouldn't call it groundbreaking.
Yeah, and it's not revolutionary. But what Becky's program does really well is just get you to focus on the basics of nutrition and really hammer it in. And I think that's what I was lacking, before, because I was like, oh, maybe I need creatine.
Yeah.
Or maybe I need to intermittent fast.
No, she's like her program isn't there's no groundbreaking in nutrition.
Yeah.
I think the way she's packaged it she's done the best job of anyone I've seen, including like the big people out there, in packaging basic concepts for everyone.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say, is that, like, including like some of the bigger name programs out there, which we won't name, but she's done the best job at packaging simple steps.
Yeah.
And also at convincing, because you were someone who would like try to skip those steps. You were like, I don't need to like establish these habits. I need to start taking creatine and counting my macros, right?
Yeah.
Or like what pre-workout, what supplement, what protein should I take? And at the same time, you were sleeping 5 hours a night and like eating like McDonald's.
That was another thing, right?
Yeah.
So like the pandemic, and I think you and Brandon talked about this in like the earlier episode. It took a pandemic for me to finally be able to prioritize sleep, or at least give myself an opportunity to prioritize sleep, right?
And I think that's like, it's that one's tricky because I think it's really important. Episode 3 of the Break Every, Brandon and I talked about how we both sleep. Yeah. But the way your solution to your sleep problem is hopefully not going to be recreated again, because you literally just got sent home from work and had to work and you found out this time where you weren't commuting.
Yeah.
And then I think even if you had to go back to the office now, you would probably still prioritize sleep because it's made such a difference, or would you just go back to your pre-pandemic habits?
So what I can say is that I understand the importance of sleep. I've seen the benefits of sleeping well. But I think I'm the kind of person who would be like, if work has to be done, I'm gonna.
But you're still getting your work done.
Yes, sometimes later at night.
Still?
I know.
Just need to get on top of things, Terence.
Yeah. I need to delegate better.
Delegate.
That's what I need to do.
That's again another topic. So confidence builder, I don't know how to delegate either. I'm the worst at delegating. Look at how I run this business. Someone else should be doing this podcast, or someone else should be like, I'm doing 3 things today that I don't need to do. I'm terrible at delegating. Awesome. So sleep helped. So are you going to be permanently work from home and the sleep can stay in?
I don't know. There's been nothing concrete from work.
Yeah.
So,
and no one knows where you work. We're not going to say it, so you can't get in trouble.
I'm trying to be as vague as possible.
Yeah.
So there's nothing concrete from work, but the messaging has been the same. It's like, we'll determine when people go back to work based on X number of factors. Who needs to go back will be determined on business needs, regulatory needs, and that sort of thing, right? So it's been the same messaging for like the last, I guess, 6-7 months. Yeah. But I'm sure I'll find out in due course.
And so sleep, diet, awesome. So let's talk about those changes. Like, did you luckily you dove in even though you thought they were basic?
Yeah. Okay, so
and it was a hard sell at the start, if I remember.
Well, the first 3 weeks of Becky's program were super easy to follow.
Yeah,
because it was like, I think it was like protein and carbs.
Yeah,
and then something else afterward. I think.
There was like the first lesson is like, don't eat.
Oh yeah,
to fullness.
Eat slower.
Eat slower. Yeah, no, eat slow.
Yeah.
Take 20 minutes to eat your meal and don't watch TV while doing eating.
Yes. So
mindful. It's called being mindful. I remember now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Becky. But I thought it was like super wishy-washy at first.
Yeah, I know you did.
What do you mean you know I
Because
did?
I knew that a lot of people, because we had a lot of people in it who like were trying to do what you did and like find a hack to the diet, like, oh, it's creatine, oh, it's this, oh, it's this.
Yeah, okay.
And
Yeah.
and a lot of people who were like, oh, but I don't need, this is so easy, I don't need to do it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
nobody did it.
Yeah.
And then when people did it, they realized it was important.
Yeah. So to your point, like, you know, I thought this was like, it was like super wishy-washy and I'm like, I don't know about it, but like I stuck with it anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, paying for it, I might, there's nothing else better to do during pandemic anyway. So like,
Yeah.
why not give it a shot? Right. So yeah, no, like, but as you go further along the course and you see how each week builds upon each other, like you realize that weeks 1, 2, and 3 it makes a huge difference.
You keep apologizing to Becky, but this is exactly what she wants. This is exactly why she designed it.
Yeah.
And the issue is that a lot of people will like, they aren't sold on those first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like those first 3 weeks, like everyone tells you to do that. If you go on Instagram for a second and look at like almost any non like weird ass nutrition account, they're telling you to do those first 3 things, but nobody ever does them. They're like, well, I don't need those 3 things. Those 3 things don't directly impact me. I want this. And they end up on like a ketogenic diet or intermittent fasting or something. Whereas if they did what you did, they'd get the results you got. Now you're in the morning chalk up. Right? Yeah. So
I will say though, like I think like the biggest lesson that I took away from Becky's program was just portion control. It's like don't eat till you're full and like be okay with like leaving, you know, leftovers.
Yeah.
That was like a game changer for me.
So I don't think my parents watched it or my mother watches this, which is good. And I don't know if it was necessarily her who taught me this, but I grew up with less income. Okay. Like I grew up not super well off. And our whole thing was like, you can't leave food on your plate. And especially my grandparents who like, now they're both passed away, so they won't ever watch this, but my grandparents were definitely like big on that. Yeah. It's just because they grew up like really like the stories I hear from their like time was like insane.
Well, that generation went through a whole bunch of
and so not leaving, I wasn't supposed to leave food on the plate, and I think that was like a big issue for me. So I think that's really important that you can leave food on the plate. Yeah, which is weird because Mallory hasn't had these issues, but she'll leave food on the plate all the time, and I sometimes still catch myself being like, "Why are you doing that? Eat that," because it's so ingrained in me.
Yeah, like so you are raised on like I mean like Asians too, right? Yeah. But like, you know, we're raised on like, don't waste a thing. Yeah. Right.
And now I'm not hungry. I'm not going to eat it. And like, that's crazy to me. Yeah. You eat it because it's on your plate. Yeah. No, I think that's important, the portion control. Yeah. And you got that locked in. Because then once you get portion control locked in, you can eat anything you want as long as there's some portion control.
You fit it within like
your portion,
your requirements.
Yeah. You just don't eat past fullness. Yep. And then the problem is a lot of foods are designed to make it so you purposely eat past fullness. Yeah. But again, another topic. So many topics we get into. Branches, you know.
Oh, I know.
We have to stay on topic. Awesome. Okay, so and then you lost weight then because you started the program at like 180 something?
I started so I think when I got back from our honeymoon, I measured myself at like 185. Yeah. Yeah. And I think at the lowest point during the last 18 months, 18 months now? Yeah. No, 16 months.
Who knows?
I think, well, I got down to like 164.
Ooh, that's low.
Yeah, and this was at the quarterfinals.
Yeah, you were real
This
tiny.
is when you were like, you need to eat more.
Yeah, you were small. Too small. Well, no, that's not fair. You were too small if your goal was like
to lift heavy.
Competitive performance. Like you were perfect. Yeah. And you're still like at a great weight if your goal is just like in gym dominance. And even like you'll still do great at the open and you'll still make quarterfinals. But if your goal is to like do better in the quarterfinals, you'll have to like get stronger. Especially if your goal is like, I want to be a competitive masters athlete at 40, you'll have to get stronger. And to get stronger, you need to eat more food.
Yeah. Certainly none of the games athletes today look like.
No. And even none of the masters athletes, right? Yeah. Like none of the masters athletes in the, because you're also, I guess Terence is 38, 36.
37.
37. In the middle, I was close on those two. Yeah. Terence is 37. So yeah, it doesn't look it. He looks like 24, 25. Axe it. Look at this backwards hat. You can't see his shoes.
I've got to keep this like pandemic hair in check though.
I haven't got a haircut.
I didn't want to brave the lines.
Oh, is there lines?
Well, I hear people are like, "Oh, stuff's booked up for like
yeah,
weeks and
I
months." And I'm
booked
like,
as soon as my person's book was open, I booked, but it was 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't.
And then last time I like got into like I just Instagram messaged her and she got me in like next day, and I Instagram messaged her this time and she like was like, "You're booked for 2 weeks from now." I'll be 2 weeks. I was like, ouch.
We're getting off topic.
What's that?
We're getting off topic.
Yeah, we are getting off topic. Hair, it's important. You gotta look good. You gotta be confident. We talked about that. Getting off topic. There's no off topic. It's just a conversation.
True. Absolutely.
And maybe people care. But like I've noticed a lot of people have been like a lot less into getting their haircut now. Like a lot of people here haven't gotten it cut yet.
Oh, let me tell you. Claire and I went out for our anniversary dinner yesterday and I had no idea what to do with this. Like I'm ready to chop it all off.
That's fair.
Yeah. It was a horrifying experience. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know how to style it. Blow dry. Like I had like hairspray and everything. It just wasn't working. That was one day I wasn't confident.
Yeah, that's fair. I find that I like my hair was pretty bad up until it got cut. Just wore a hat everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so diet and the basics, Becky's program, guys. It's going to be linked. I'm going to keep linking it consistently because I think we'll probably talk about it. Most of the people we've had on have made nutritional changes based on her advice, and it's not like I'm doing it I'm only inviting people on who've been with Becky. Like Sam hadn't worked with Becky, but the majority of the people that'll be on this show are going to have made nutritional changes because that's how you make the progress people look for.
I certainly credit a lot of my success to Becky's program and just kind of sticking with it. Right, I think that was like a big driver of my success.
So I guess that's the next thing is like you've kept up with it even though the course has ended.
Yeah. So certainly there's. I think it's like a 16-week program, and definitely there's a bunch of the weeks that I've forgotten.
Yeah.
But I think the key takeaways that I have kind of just reinforced. I've kept those up, and I'm able to kind of maintain, this.
I don't know I can't remember if I put the legs in the shot. I don't know if it's how your hands. But yeah, awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the other issue you dealt with besides diet is injury. You hurt your back on Thursday. But I read your sugar WOD notes that it feels good today.
Yep.
Better.
Yep.
Probably not perfect. Over 50% of the general population has a low back injury.
Yeah.
Like I'm not talking about I'm talking about like in general.
Yeah.
Like
something that bugs them. Yeah. Something small.
Yeah. I think it's just, I think the human body is both amazing, but also it has like hilarious like weak points. Like the knee and the back are too.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember that podcast with you and Megan, and you guys were talking about flexion and extension of the spine.
Yeah.
Right? And for me, it's a big issue.
Yeah. I think we were talking about how you should train it unloaded because it goes into flexion extension, which so Terence has had a back injury since I met him. Since I started here, Terence's back was bugging him. It's way less worse now, which we'll get into some of the things he did for that. But on Thursday, he was doing pistol squats and he injured his back. Up until 2 opens ago, we didn't really do a ton of pistol squats because you have to squat. You end up in a broken position. If you listen to Josh Bridges and Jason Khalifa, both have talked about how now they no longer compete. They don't do pistol squats anymore. Okay. Because there's better exercise. A weighted lunge is the same strengthening, or even a shrimp squat, which is our scale, which is what like Genty and I did in that workout. Not because
I know that. Yeah, I know that. I was like, I wonder if they scale the workout because they're like, nah, I don't want to blow up my back.
No, I don't do pistols very often because I find that I don't get I cheat on my left side and I blows my calf up more than it does my glute.
So you don't get that
I did pistols today though because they felt good. The scale felt good yesterday or last week. Anyway, so there's some movements we don't, but it puts you in flexion extension. Mm-hmm. In your notes, you said you knew you were about to hurt yourself as you were doing it, more or less.
I think the second it happened, I knew why it happened.
Yeah. And that's a risk that anyone runs working out at a high intensity. But first of all, I guess we'll work backwards from your injury because you still came in the next day and worked out. So Terence, that wasn't planned. Like we had planned to have him on the podcast before he hurt himself, but you hurt yourself and it was pretty bad. Like you were on the ground for a while. Megan and I were kind of like, I don't want to do with him. Poking you with a stick. No.
Didn't need an ambulance though, guys.
Yeah. So you were on the ground for a little bit, but you came in the next day, rode the bike, and that helped. Because that goes back to what Megan said about movement.
Yeah.
Megan and I's episode where we talked about what to do if you hurt yourself, essentially.
Yeah. So I went home and, I set a timer for myself. Every hour and a half, I would stretch for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? So just stuff with my hamstrings, glutes, hip flexors, and I was on a yoga ball all day as opposed to sitting in an actual chair.
Yeah.
And I found that all that stuff helped me kind of keep my spine moving and so that my low back would seize up again. Yep.
Awesome. So you kept active as you, and then you came in today and then you worked out because you hurt yourself on Wednesday.
So I came in Thursday, Friday, and I rode the bike both days.
And you didn't come in on Saturday, right?
No.
Yeah, it's probably good. That workout was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then on Monday you came in, you just scaled the workout.
That's today.
Yeah.
Yes.
You came in today and scaled the workout this morning, which is awesome. And it was okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good lesson there. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, how Terence got to that point, because it's a re-injury. It's like not an uncommon thing. Awesome. Okay. So I didn't lock that door. Hopefully no one comes in. I can always cut it. I've cut like stuff. I was like, we have to film inside today.
Yeah.
I don't have to spend nearly as much time editing, but I was like, I didn't lock the door. So people are going to come in and it'll be the same thing as when people drive by really aggressively. Anyways, so you came in and you rode the bike and all that. And it helped. And tomorrow's workout, you'll be able to do RX if you want. It's like calories on the rower or calories on the bike, and then like max freestanding handstand hold. So you won't be able to do RX if you don't have freestanding handstand hold. You could do RX if you had a freestanding handstand hold.
We'll see.
Yeah. 1 second. There's no, it's unscored. There's no score for it. Awesome. So the back, when is the first time you kind of noticed it? Do you remember? It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And I think you pointed it out. It's a reoccurring injury. I've had this problem for God knows how long. Did
you have it before you started CrossFit? Do you even remember?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But, it's a problem that I've had, for X number of years. I've seen a chiro for it. I've seen an acupuncturist. I've seen RMT, sports therapist, or no, athletic. Yeah. And they've all kind of told me different things, but the one thing that's been consistent was just, what Megan said, keep it moving, keep stretching. And that stuff's helped me kind of recover faster. But the frustrating part is just not knowing how to prevent it.
What happens less frequently now?
Now it happens less frequently because I think the last time that this happened,
a couple of years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
It was when I kind of first, no, it was longer than that now. Because 2 years ago was like,
Pandemic.
It was when I first started here.
Yeah.
Because you heard yourself, it was like it was in my first 6 months here at this gym.
Yeah. And I remember like after that, I think I got so fed up with it that it was on a deadlift. I remember it was on a deadlift, and I remember being so fed up with it that I, spent the next 2 weeks rehabbing, but in the way that I was just working on stuff like how to hinge, how to recruit my glutes, my hamstrings for the hinge, how to brace through my core. And so after figuring out all that out, like I was injury free for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Almost more than 2 years. But there I was with the.
But like, how did you figure that stuff out? Like it took you couldn't just, it took a while.
It took a while. I think it took a while to realize that what I was doing in my lifts wasn't putting me in the best position to be safe.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Right. Putting in the best position to lift as much weight as you were capable of at the time.
And not killing myself.
Yeah. But what I mean is like you were sacrificing technique for weight or speed.
I don't think it was either. I think
Terence, I watched you sacrifice technique for weight and speed. Consistently.
So this happens, yes.
Yeah.
But I think what was happening was I wasn't aware of how to lift better.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, you started at CrossFit 4 time.
Yeah.
It's in the name. Everything's 4 time. Yeah, not for quality.
Sometimes it's a little embarrassing that, but anyway.
Why? That gym hasn't existed for like half a decade. It hasn't existed since like 2015 or 2016.
Not surprised. But anyway.
But what I'm saying is like, I don't think you need to feel embarrassed about that. No one knows who it is except like the 3 people who still are from here from like 2015. Because it wasn't that far from here, right?
I was in Scarborough. So closer to my home.
Yeah. So you fixed your back, 2 years injury free, and now it gets hurt. It's not a big deal. So I think the lesson there is like, guys, you're gonna get hurt potentially. Not everyone will. There's ways to do CrossFit without ever getting hurt.
Yeah.
But the ways you do CrossFit without ever getting, it's like a line. If you never get hurt doing CrossFit, there's a good chance you're not getting as much. Yeah, you're not getting as much progress as you could. If you get hurt all the time, it's like too much on the other way.
Yeah.
There's a pendulum.
Yep.
The big thing is that what should happen is what happened to Terence, is where you felt something off. You take a few days, and I'd say Terence should probably like maintain at least 7 days before he goes back to going 100%, and then just be careful with it going forward. But there's definitely ways around that. And then Terence fixed his movement patterns, which I recommend getting help for, which he got help for. Get help fixing your movement patterns. Don't just like get hurt and get frustrated. Come to us and we can probably help you, or see a physiotherapist or chiropractor, whatever you want. But then after you do that, come to us and tell us, and we can help you.
I think like the coaches here have been great about scaling down, certain movements for injury prevention, right?
Yeah.
Like Brandon asks every morning, any injuries that we should know about.
Yeah.
I think, right? Yeah.
But it's just, I think people like, if you can't be afraid of getting hurt, even if you've been hurt. And that's the hard part. Is like, even for me, like since the Open, I've been focused on like I've been doing CrossFit with a fear of being hurt for years, and now I'm not, and it's going way better.
I think too, it's, people are afraid of being hurt, but I think, it's a good opportunity to work on other things, right? Like find the time to now do stretches that you never do.
Exactly.
Right? Ride the bike that I would never sit on a bike for 45 minutes, right?
You should get one at home.
Maybe.
It's good. Just let Claire know.
Yeah. Let's start a petition, guys.
Start a petition.
In the comments.
In the comments, let Claire know that Terence should be allowed to buy one piece of cardio equipment for his house. Anything. Ski erg? No. Ski erg takes the least amount of space. Beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, I guess so.
Awesome. Okay, so we got diet, injury. What's something else you've worked on to improve? Like something we haven't talked about?
I don't know. Consistency?
You were consistent beforehand, though. I think you were consistent in your attendance. I think Mallory was consistent, but she didn't have intensity. I think you've always had some intensity. Yeah. I still think you could have more intensity, but like you're old enough now at 37 where you don't necessarily want to. Like I think you do a good job of picking certain days and going hard and all of that. So I don't think you need that. I think you're doing great. I think you need to eat probably a little bit more, but you're working on that.
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk too much about that because I know that like even in this format of podcast, I'll say you should eat more, and then someone who doesn't need to eat more will hear that and do what you did like 2 years ago and take that as like trying to skip 4 steps.
Yeah.
Which is kind of our whole anti thing. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so do you have any questions for me? That's how we got to end it. If you don't have any questions, it's fine.
No, but I wish you would have told me to prepare some questions.
Yeah, don't tell anyone because that way it's like on the spot. Also, I don't actually know if I want questions.
Okay.
But if you have something, it's your opportunity to ask me about anything you have.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, guys, I think intuition tells me. Yeah, it's been 40 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's practice. 8 episodes now. I'm a pro. So if you want to learn more about Terence's story that wasn't covered here, I'll post a link to his morning chalk up article in the comments. Terence is a local celebrity. If you want to chase his scores, you can check out our programming online. There's going to be a link in the description to get on it. Also, again, if you like this episode or you didn't like it, but you want to make me some YouTube money, like, comment, and subscribe. You can also leave us apparently a 5-star only review on Apple Podcasts.